What's up guys, welcome back to Savage Planet. So what does every president who has lost re-election have in common? That is what I'm going to talk about today, and I can account for presidents at least dating back to year 1900. And of course you can use this system or theory to also judge whether you think that Trump will win re-election or he will be defeated by Biden. Now, America usually re-elects their presidents. Since 1900 there has been 5 cases of presidents that have lost re-election. This has been William Howard Taft, Herbert Hoover, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter and George Herbert Walker Bush. And what do they all have in common? They all faced stiff primary opposition. None of them had a very easy primary, well, almost. So let's go through it now, and I'm going to explain to you how the primary elections could show the writing of the wall for these men's re-election campaigns. Of course, not Gerald Ford's re-election campaign, he was never actually elected. But the primary is what we're going to talk about today. The first off is William Howard Taft. In 1912, he was challenged by former President of the United States Theodore Roosevelt and his Bull Moose Party. But before that, Roosevelt was actually running a primary challenge against Taft in the Republican primary. Even though Roosevelt had been the one who had appointed Taft the person best to succeed him. Now, Taft won that, but it was a very tough primary battle. It was one of the toughest in history. And Roosevelt, who had more delegates but at the convention lost because of the party establishment backed Taft, decided to run as a third party, which, if it was not already doomed, well, that doomed Taft's campaign, and the Democrat Woodrow Wilson easily won the election in November. This is definitely the least known guy on this list. Joseph Franz challenged Herbert Hoover in 1932. Although back then there was not really a primary in every state, there were just a couple of states, and in many of these, Joseph Franz was not even on the ballot, but where he was on the ballot, he ultimately destroyed Hoover. And that is an incumbent president losing primaries in different states to a challenger, and he was a one-term senator from Maryland. But the thing is, Hoover controlled the party, and he ultimately got like 98 or 99% of the delegates at the convention, and there was just not ever going to be any question. But the fact that he had a primary challenge that won more states than him and got more votes than him nationally just could tell you that he was never going to win the election of 1932. Now, these 3 guys are probably a bit more well known. In 1976, President Gerald Ford sought re-election but was challenged from the right wing of his party by California Governor Ronald Reagan. That is, former California Governor Ronald Reagan at the time. Now, Ford won that one, but it was a tough battle, and he ultimately lost the presidential election to the former governor of Georgia, Jimmy Carter. In 1980, Carter sought re-election but was challenged from the left wing of his party by Senator from Massachusetts, Ted Kennedy, the younger brother of former President John F. Kennedy and former Attorney General and presidential candidate Robert Kennedy. Carter ultimately won a re-nomination, but the tough primary challenge had really taken a toll, and he was destroyed by Ronald Reagan in the November election. And then in 1992, President George Herbert Walker Bush was challenged from the right wing of his party by Pat Buchanan, who had a major beef with Bush over his raise of taxes and other moderate/liberal policies. In the end, they all lost. Gerald Ford lost, Carter lost, and Herbert Walker Bush lost. And this is why people who oppose Trump and Biden supporters should be worried. Yes, Donald Trump was challenged by Bill Weld as well as Joe Walsh, Mark Sanford, and I believe Rocky De La Fuente. And he won 94% of the vote. There was really no big opposition. He has won every state, and yeah, right now everyone has withdrawn except from Rocky De La Fuente, which I believe is sort of a perennial candidate. He will always be around. But of course, he's also not a serious candidate. Trump currently has all the delegates he needs and many more to secure the nomination, and he just never had any trouble with it. I don't know if he went to campaign or anything. I believe he went to some of the same states as the Democrats went. But in the end, nothing really mattered. The GOP was solidly behind him, which is, well, something that he would have in common with presidents that easily win re-election. There was always a big question if, Harry Truman would lose in 1948, if Barack Obama would lose in 2012. It just never happened. The incumbents won both times. And yeah, Trump is really far ahead in the polls now, so of course he is considered the underdog. The primary theory from Helmut Norput, which I've made a video about, this is not completely... this is not an analysis of that theory, but it is definitely based on that and the fact that primary challenge really matters. Anyway, it will be really hard to see Biden overcome this now. So please don't go, if you're a Biden supporter, don't go wild in the comment section. Please be civil. Please don't be rude. And yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, please consider subscribing. It really motivates me to make more videos. Anyway, that's it from me today. See you soon.